Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, True Crime with Jess Rose. This is actually like my 5th take, and I'll tell you why. Normally I don't do takes or stop or anything because these videos are unedited. You know, you get to see all my cock-ups or whatever, you know, and I think a lot of YouTube videos are a lot of cutting and everything, and I didn't want to do that. I'm not going down that route, but like I say, I have stopped my video 5 times and restarted it again because of the next story I'm going to do. And what you might notice, my past couple of stories have been about children. It's not where my channel's heading. It's not what all my stories will be about. It's just so happened they're the stories that I've come across and that I felt needed to be out there. And my next story is as well. But I don't want you to think, because I know some people who love true crime, love to find out what happened. You know, that's what I love, you know, not just, you know, the gore of what's happened in a crime. It's seeing it through to the end, you know, sentencing, etc. And I know some people can be put off when their child murders, you know, quite understandably, they're very upsetting. So I don't want any of my subscribers, yourselves out there, anyone who watches my videos, to think, God, this is the route she's going. I'm really not going to watch these, because it's not. But I wanted to give that at the beginning because this next story is. So, but I just wanted you to know that that's not the route I'm heading. There's a reason, and the reason for this story is how you all getting on in isolation. You know, I hope you're all okay out there. And, you know, I was whinging earlier, you know, God, you know, I feel like I'm going mad. And then I had to step back and looked at my children, and I just thought, you know, at least I know they're safe. I know where they are, you know, they're under the roof, you know, we're all safe. And, you know, it made me reassess a few things. And that's when I came across this next story I'm going to do for you. It's actually called the Kirsten Hatfield story. And the reason I'm doing it is, like I was saying, when you're in your home, you feel like you should be safe. That's most people's safe places, you know, and unfortunately for this little girl, it wasn't. Like I say, her name's Kirsten Hatfield. She was it goes back to the 13th of May 97, and at that point in time, Kirsten was 8 and her little sister Faith was 3. They lived with their mum Shannon, and they were just a really cute little family, you know. Just Kirsten, she was some of the home videos you see of her, such a cutie, and looked after her sister Faith, and such a lovely little girl. You know, and it just makes it so, these stories just makes them so just worse somehow, you know, when it's a child. And that's why I wanted to make you aware that this isn't, every story I do is not going to be about children. As hard as it is for you to listen to, it is very hard for me to talk about. And there are reasons behind any of the stories I do, adult or child. Now, on the 13th of May 1997, well, actually, it'd have been the 12th of May. I'm sorry. Get down. The cat's at it again. He's at it again. Get down. Get down. Every time I do a story. Every time. So it had been the 12th of May 97, and Shannon put Kirsten and, I think it's Kirsten or Kirsten, I'm not that Kirsten. She puts Kirsten and Faith to bed. You know, you see little home videos of in the bedroom. They look such a cute little family unit. And she puts the girls to bed. And Shannon says that when she leaves the bedroom, of the girls, she leaves the door slightly ajar. Now, we're going into 13th of May 97 now, because obviously it's the middle of the night. And Shannon says that about 3 o'clock in the morning, she heard noises coming from the girl's bedroom. And she gets up and she walks along the hall. And as she gets near the girl's door, the noises stop. So she said she literally had her hand on the door to open the door. Now, do you hear what I said there? To open the door. She left the door ajar. And did I say she left the door ajar? She left the door ajar, so when she goes back to it, she puts her hands on the handle. And because there's no sound, she doesn't want to wake the girls up and she walks away. As she's walking away, she does say, she has a thought in her head thinking, as she's walking, hold on a minute, I'm sure I closed that door. But she was so tired, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, there's no more noises from the bedroom, and she goes back to bed. I think any one of us can say that. Because when your kids are in bed, they're the one time, should be the one time in your life and their life that you can think they're safe, they're tucked up in bed, they're where I know they are, they're not out, no one, they're safe. And so I think we can all say that we've gone to go to the room, heard silence and thought, and snuck away. I think as parents, we've all done that. So she goes back to bed. When Shannon gets up in the morning, she goes in to wake Kirsten and Faith up. And Kirsten's not there. Her daughter's not there. She's not in a bed. Oh, what? Your stomach just drops at the thought of it. Because that's what I was saying, we all sit here and think, at least we're safe, at least we're safe. And when I watched his story, I just thought, oh my God, even then, you've said, we're all taught to be on our guards in shopping centres, Jamie Bulger. We're all taught to hold their hands a little bit tighter, keep an eye on our kids, know where they are at all times, don't send them out on their own, there's like a buddy system, send them out with their friends. But when they're in bed, that should be when they're safe. So, of course, Shannon phones the police straight away. She's like, my daughter's not in bed. And you do hear the operator ask, is this something she would normally do? Now, I know they have to ask certain questions, but she's 8 years old. Does your daughter normally get up in the middle of the night? What? But it was explained afterwards, they were wondering, did she go out in the garden, where was she? And, she was like, no, she's not in the house, she's not here. So when the police come round, one of them notices that the window's slightly ajar, kind of raised. You see, it's like a one-storey building that they live in. So the bedrooms are on ground floor. And the window's slightly ajar. And she was like, no, I didn't notice. And you can imagine as a mum, your brain would be that frazzled. It's like, oh my God. And when they go and check the window, there's blood on the windowsill. Then they check, obviously, the grounds, check their garden, and Kirsten's, they get them identified there. Kirsten's little pair of underwear are thrown in the garden with blood on them as well. And it's just, that's what I wanted to do this story, because it's so out there. It's so uncommon. It's like, oh my God. Even in their own home. We've done the stories of Gabrielle Fernandez and Tegan Scaber, the last ones I did. And yes, of course, those children weren't safe in their own home. They weren't, because of the monsters that were raising them. But Kirsten and Faith were being raised by a mum that loved them. She loved them. She looked after them. She nurtured them. They were everything to her. And for that to happen, it goes beyond any thoughts you have of badness in the world. You know there's badness in the world, but when you hear something like that, you think, how bad can the world actually get? So the police are on the case, and they're, you know, they're stopping people. They're hoping to find this young girl. You know, they're putting out roads, blocks, you know, traffic blocks. They're searching everywhere. You know, Shannon says she put out thousands upon thousands of posters of Kirsten, you know, just trying to find this little girl and who took her. And you know, you're not going to believe this. This was in 97. Again, this is what caught me with the story. You know, not only the fact that she was taken from her own bed, but just the time frame of the story. Because in 2015, this happened in 97. 97. So nearly 18 years later, Shannon still doesn't know what happened to her daughter. She was taken from her bed in the middle of the night. They're saying about 3 o'clock because that's when Shannon heard the noises. You know, I mean, and what kind of not burden, but guilt would that leave you? Not from me. Not from me. I'm not bashing here in any way. You know, I've said it earlier. We've all done it. We've all gone to go in and it's quiet and you kind of step away. And, you know, we've all done that. But could you imagine the guilt of thinking, if I'd have just opened the door, if I'd have just opened that bedroom door, I could have stopped what was going on. Because it is believed that what she heard was whoever it was coming in and taking. Now, they did interview, very carefully, Faith, Kirsten's younger sister, but she was only 3. And all she said was, bad man, take Kirsten. Or bad man, take my sister. There was something, you know, like a very child, she's 3, you know, a child response. And when I listened to that, I weren't sure, was it what she'd been told or did she see something? Because they couldn't get anything more out of her. So did she just know that's what happened to her sister? Or did she see someone come in and take her? You know, we don't know. And that was it for 18 years. And in 2015, so, you know, Shannon's tried to get on with her life. You know, that, you know, they've all tried. She went on to marry somebody, so Shannon's name's actually Hazen now. But she never stopped trying to find where her daughter had gone. You know, she kept trying to get the case reopened. And eventually, again, I'll say 2015, a tip came in, really randomly, from a young girl saying her grandmother had died recently, and when she'd gone in to a nan's house, and obviously searching through papers and shutting the house down and stuff, she found a nan's diary journals. Now, in the journals was a blow-by-blow account of what had happened to Kirsten. And the grandmother had written it in the sense that her son had told her this. So the lead was obviously taken very seriously. A cold case detective was put on the case to reopen it and stuff. And they meet the girl. They get the journals in and they're reading through them all. And, you know, obviously, I think it'd be her uncle. It doesn't say whether it's the girl's dad, her uncle. Because it's a grandmother's son. And it's her grandmother. So I'm not sure, but they find the son that's mentioned in the journals, bring him in and show him a photo of Kirsten. And he starts crying, he starts sobbing uncontrollably looking at this photo. And he starts to repeat what's written in the journal without knowing they had the journal, if you get what I mean. So he starts recounting this story of Kirsten was taken from the bedroom. She was taken to this house. Now, I know when you see this house, oh, and it's just horrible. It's like out of a horror film. It's dirty, it's hoarded, it's dark, it's dingy. It's just awful. And they're searching through this house, and they put, I think it's luminol, it's called. It's that name's not mentioned. I don't know if there are other brands of it, but it's basically that spray that's put round, and when you turn the lights off, it'll glow up wherever blood has been spattered or what within a room. And you see the camera footage of when they turn the lights off, and it is like a horror film. There's just blood spattering. So, it's blue, but that's what it's showing up, and there's blood on the floor, and there's blood here and there. And so based on what's written in this journal, which basically describes the torture, rape and murder of this little girl in graphic detail, based on all this luminol showing up, they think they've got it. Well, this guy's saying, it wasn't me. This was the house it happened in. It wasn't me. There was a few people involved. And as I'm watching this story unfold on what I was watching it on, I'm just like, oh my God, this is horrific. Part of me was like, why did I start watching? So they need to wait for the test results to come back. And it comes back that it's not human blood. It's an animal blood. Which doesn't sound great for the animal, just as a side note, but it's not human blood. And it turns out that these were all druggies, all known druggies, and it was drug-induced ramblings. I didn't know it was a thing, certainly not. Basically, they've said that these were a group of well-known drug takers in this particular area, and it happens sometimes. This is what the police are saying. It happens sometimes when there are cases that are highlighted in the press, that they will go on like a fantasy thing of what happened to whatever they might be talking about, and it seems that they went on ramblings of what they thought would have happened to Kirsten. And in their great drug-fuddled thinking, they came up with that she was tortured and she was raped and all of this sort of stuff. Like I say, graphic detail, a lot of which isn't, read out. The journal's not read out. And it's like, what people out there are doing this? Hear about a crime like this in the press and think, oh, I wonder what's happened to her. And a normal person would be like, oh my God, I really hope she's found. I really hope, if someone has got her, they're looking after her, You're just hoping against hope that it's a positive outcome. But you've got people out there, apparently, that don't think that and that want to imagine the worst possible scenario to the point where he goes and tells his grandmother that he's part of a group that have done it. Just utterly crazy, utterly time wasting. It's just, I don't even know how to describe that. I really don't. It was just a complete waste of time. It was fictional. It was made up. It was like, my God, that poor mum, the emotion she must have felt, even knowing all of this, but thinking she might get her daughter back. And then finding out, actually, no, that didn't happen. So you'd be relieved, but then it'd be an anticlimax because actually not getting your daughter back and we still don't know where she is and what happened to her. It's like, But because of this, the investigator who had been brought in to look at this particular lead, he was so taken with what had happened and, I think just wanted to get it resolved for the mum. It's not just your daughter's been abducted from the street. you know, like playing or something. She was abducted from her bed, and no one can tell her who or why it's happened. You know, so he wants to continue this right to the end. So what he's absolutely baffled by is that the blood that was found on the windowsill was never cross-checked with any of the people that were brought in. Now, don't forget, it was 97. But we know that forensics have moved on so much since then. So he got the blood from the windowsill, which I think is amazing that they can say things like that. It really is. And they ran it in the national database. Didn't bring up anything again, you know. But then he has an idea, and he once brought in all the suspects that were originally asked back in 97 to get their DNA swabs. And he says, you know, all them males were quite happy to do so. You know, came in, they made, you know, swab and DNA and stuff. Well, one of the men brought in was a gentleman by the name of Anthony Palmer, who at this point was 58 in 2015. Now, Anthony lived 2 doors down from Kirsten and her mum and sister. 2 doors. You can actually see their back gardens. He's got like a red brick house. He's lived there the whole time, you know, since 97. Obviously, Shannon moved, which you would have. Part you would want to go, part you wouldn't in case they came back. I don't know. But he's still there. And he came in to have his DNA taken. And it came back as a match. They had him. He was 2 doors away the whole time. For nearly 2 decades, that man stayed exactly, basically not returning to the scene of the crime. He'd always been there. And it happened to be that he was one of the witnesses that came forward when the police were doing their checks originally back in 97, who said that on the night, about 3 o'clock in the morning, same time frame as Shannon had said that she'd, you know, woken up to a noise, his dog was barking in the garden towards the back end of the fence, which would back onto their garden. And he brought him in, told him to shush, and thought no more of it. And he'd been let go. So when they brought him in, you see the interview, and, you know, he's like, you know, this is what happened at the time. I said my dog had started barking, I brought him in. And in the end, the police have had enough, and they're like, your DNA matches. Your DNA not only matches the blood found on the windowsill, but blood that was found in this poor child's underwear that had been left in the garden. And he's not having any of it. No, he's not exactly emphatic when he's, you know, saying how innocent he is. You know, you watch the interview, it's just like, no, it's not me. Not cocky, just not much of anything. And they kind of push a picture of Kirsten across to him. And he doesn't even really look at it, he just kind of pushes it away. You know, he says he didn't really know them. He'd never been in the house. He'd said he'd seen Kirsten once. And that he didn't know what they were on about. They had him banged to rights. There it was. But what they needed to know where she was. What had he done with her? You know, and he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't say. Now, in 2017, it did take 2 years to get everything together, but in 2017, he was found guilty and got life without parole. He didn't even try and appeal it. You know, this bloke who was saying he had nothing to do with it, wouldn't even appeal that original sentence. Life without parole, that's it. And they were begging him. The family, you know, Shannon was writing to him, begging him, you know, saying she'd forgived him. They didn't want to go for the death sentence with him. She just wanted to know where her little girl was. Nothing. Wouldn't give him anything. This poor woman 20 years later, they finally sent down the bloke who's done it, and he still won't tell them. I tell her, the family, what he did. You know, she went to the trial, as did Faith, you know, Kirsten's little sister. She said she was too scared to look at him. Shannon could face him, you know, as a mother would. Horrible looking bloke, big, just greasy, horrible looking fella. But Faith said she was too scared. She couldn't look at him, which I thought was really sad. I mean, she's what, 25 now? You know, and she just couldn't. It's just created just this horrible feeling among the family, and this restlessness that they haven't been able to bring her home. So investigators planned to talk to Anthony Palmer in 2019, so last year, and sit down again. You know, he would have been in prison a couple of years by then, and hope maybe he'd had a change of mind, explain what happened, you know, or even forget what happened. Where was she? Let her family bring her home and bury her and give them that peace of mind. But on the 11th of January 2019, that idea was put paid to, because Anthony was murdered in his jail cell. He was strangled, and its cause of death was strangulation by ligature and blunt force trauma to the head. And it was said that on a Friday night, when the officers were doing a shutdown and checking the cells, that he was in the room, obviously wasn't standing up, and his blanket was over him. And when they got his cellmate to pull the blanket over, you know, back, there was just a pool of blood. The cellmate had done it. You know, he was already serving 3 consecutive life sentences. He didn't care. You know, and normally I'd sit here and be like, yes, absolutely, what he deserved. But I can't in this one. Not for him. He did get what he deserved, 100%. But it's just so sad for the family, because now they'll never know. Unless someone comes across little Kirsten, her remains, you know, somehow, you know, they're never going to know. They're never going to be able to bring that baby girl home. And I think that's what's very sad. But there's nothing to say he'd have ever told them anyway. You know, so the cellmate, good for him. Just very sad for the family. Very, very sad. But yeah, high fives to the cellmate. And that was why I wanted to tell this story, because just in these times where, you know, we are so safe in our homes, and, you know, it's like, even then, is no one safe? Are your children still not safe? It's just hard to fathom and get your head around and understand what this poor mum's been through for all these years. You know, it's been 23 years and she still hasn't got her baby home. I just thought it was very sad. I just thought it was a really sad story. You know, but like I said in the beginning, that was the reason I wanted to do the story. Plus, because it spanned 2 decades and, you know, it didn't really resolve until last year. It will never be resolved unless Kirsten's found. But, you know, Anthony Palmer's conclusion was last year. You know, I just wanted to do it. But if any of my subscribers aren't, you know, can't really watch the child crime videos, it's not something I go out of my way to do. Like I say, as hard as they are to listen to, they're hard to tell as well. But sometimes I feel like people need to remember these ones too. And yeah, thank you for all my subscribers this week, and all my comments and likes and views and stuff, and I really, really appreciate it. And, you know, if you've got anything you'd like me to look at, you know, that you're not sure what happened, and, I remember that, but I'm not too sure what the outcome was, please let me know. I'll have a look, you know. time aplenty on my hands. But thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Thank you.